We have to be greater than what we suffer. It's a very hard line to speak about, and it's very hard to encapsulate because a lot of times, you know, when things happen to us, it changes you, whether it's good, whether it's bad. But people don't like to really take the idea that, you know what, if something bad happens to me, then I earn that. That's just what happens to me. Or they're like, you know what, I'm going to try harder, but I'm still going to accept what happened, right? It's not so much that, and I'm probably not going to articulate this the best, just because I'm kind of just going off cuff here. But it needs to be said, especially if you're one of those people that, when there's hard times, you think back on all these miserable, terrible memories. I'm speaking to the people that have dealt with hardship, that have dealt with miserable trauma, things that you don't even feel comfortable even talking to your closest friends or family with. That's the kind of video this is, okay? Um, when you deal with those disgusting things, it's one of those things that haunts you at night. And I I obviously am of the belief that, you know what, you want to try to be the best person you can. You want to love yourself. You want to genuinely love yourself, not be like, "Oh, you're doing so good. You're doing so good." Like genuinely, almost act like your own parental figure. Look down on yourself. If you're talking bad to yourself, what is that going to do? No, sure, you want to get a little bit tough love sometimes, but you gotta care about yourself. You gotta take care of yourself. You gotta look at yourself and say, you know what? Yeah, I love you, genuinely, and enact that. And so many people don't do that. They will over and over again see so many other people go through suffering and hurt and pain, and they'll be like, you know what? I want the best for you. But when they look at themselves, it's nothing. They have this wall, and you can't do that to yourself. You can't, because again, you owe it to yourself, your friends, your family, and most of all, God. Now, speaking about, again, the main premise here, we have to be greater than what we suffer. A lot of times, it's this thing where you'll hear me speak about this, and I'm sure you'll hear me speak about it in later videos as well. But when there's some hard stuff, sometimes you just can't logically get through it. Sometimes you just gotta push through it and, grit your teeth. Sometimes you just gotta grab the horns by the bull by the horns and just go, right. But the you're missing the picture when you do that sometimes. When you're going forward, like getting forward and forward and forward and forward and forward, a lot of times we're just getting encapsulated by all this hatred or pain, and we're letting it fuel us. And sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, genuinely. You can't just always do things by the book. That's just how life is. You ask any working man, they will tell you that's just sometimes you just gotta go through the motions, and that's okay. Even people that my friends that work out, they'll tell you sometimes you just gotta go through the motions. You're not always gonna have 100% days. But at the same time, though, you can't let that be your main ideology, okay? You can't let that be your compass going forward. Because if you do, that's going to just be such a terrible foundation for yourself, okay? For those around you. And you're going to cut people that never hurt you in the first place, okay? You're going to bleed all over them. And that's not fair. That's not fair to yourself either. So many times, people will get hurt. And, whether people like to admit it or not, sometimes, we will lash out. Even when we don't want to. Like I'm sure you guys know, some of you that are still in school, you probably had a horrible day. People don't care. You went through some hellish, BS, right? And you come back, and then your parents, your family members just push your buttons too much, and you just let out a little of something, okay? Or sometimes you just might be a little bit, a little bit more sharp in tone to people because of this buildup. And I'm telling you now, this is a message for everyone that is going through those hardships. Again, I'm going to say this over and over and over again. You have to be greater than your suffering, no matter how much you endure. When you have this suffering, whenever you have this pain, so often it's almost as if people want to give a middle finger to the world. Okay, and I'm not trying to tell you that everything's going to be peachy. I'm telling you that this is going to be an unfair path forward. Okay, it just is. As depressing as that sounds, it will be unfair because this is a cruel world. You are not guaranteed happiness. You are not guaranteed anything good in this world. By the moment you take your first breath, you could die. And yet here we are, blessed as we are. I'm sure you can think of at least of a few good moments in your life. At least a few, even if they're minute. And that's a blessing. And that's why, if you think at a grand scale now, so many other people have way more happier moments. You might have a percentage of what some of these other people that, are living in mansions, great places, going out and doing whatever the hell you want. And then here you are, let's say busting your butt all the time. Right? Let's say you might not even be getting the opportunity to do that. That hurts. That's suffering. Or let's say someone else that is a terrible human being. You look at it, it's like, you did all this stuff to me and they're just having such a great life. And here I am suffering. That hurts. That hurts. But at the same time, though, you got to think, and this is one thing I speak out about a lot, and it's one thing I truly do believe. What is the best reality? Sometimes what you want isn't the best reality, okay? But this is also why I talk about, you got to know, if you're on your deathbed, okay, and you're thinking back, you don't want to have regrets. And I really do think that having this best reality mentality is it, okay? To fall through the morals, for what God wants you to have, okay? And then push forward, okay? Now, that's why you can't let your suffering consume you. You've been blessed with a life. Just the percentage of you even being born, okay? First off, you living on a planet like this, us all living on this planet is just, it's so amazing, okay? Genuinely, the statistics of it is insane. And then you also being born out of all the other people that could have been, here you are, okay? A impossible percentage. That's beautiful. When you get destroyed now, okay? So many people will think, okay, well, clearly the world's out to get me. Clearly I'm not meant to be. Clearly this was not it. Clearly, destiny had it out for me. Clearly this is it. I'm going to stick to my own line. You can't do that to yourself. You have to. You have to. You have to love yourself. Not just passively. You have to actively. You have to work on it. You have to fight for it. Over and over and over. And the biggest thing, and this is why I'm speaking about God, you have to come to peace. You have to come to peace. That's hard. And you will have to come to peace over and over and over again times, because you might say, you know what? I know I got hurt. But if I don't want to keep bleeding on people that haven't hurt me, if I want to have a better life, if I want to prove that this is mine, and I'm going to have my best reality and move forward, then that's what it takes. That's what it takes. To be greater than what you have suffered through your past. That's what it takes. So often people talk about strength as if, it's this, oh, I'm so big and strong, or, I'm so pompous. But it's not that. Anyone can kill a man. Hell, people die every day. But that doesn't matter. Everyone dies. Everyone can be witty. It doesn't matter. Those things are so surface level. By definition, could you say strong? Sure. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think so. It is such a weak mindset, and it is not of a full picture whatsoever of what a human being is capable of, especially when it comes to the confines of their spirit. And I say that very strongly. I mean that. That is one word that I want to stick in their spirit, okay? When it comes to your spirit, there are some things that flourish within you, some things that just have such quality that you need to stick to, and you really got to just, pull into you. You got to ask and pray constantly to strengthen you. And one of those things, again, is endurance. No matter how much you endure, you need to keep pushing forward. Again, you might go through some of the worst things ever. I know a friend of mine that actually lost his mom. It's been hard on him. And yet, instead of going the victim route, he's decided to still be such a kind, loving, carefree soul. And I look at a man like that, and I don't know how I could do that. I would be quite hurt, quite broken. And yet, I look at him, and I have such pride in knowing that that's my friend, that's someone that I'm close to. And it's moments like that. It's moments like, I'll give some, no, I'm not even sure if I want, I'll try to give some examples, I guess. I remember my childhood wasn't always the best. I remember there were some pretty bad exes my family members had in the past, and at one point it literally got to the point where I had to run away. I ran away from home for a bit, and I did it multiple times. I remember I ran like miles. I remember I think one was like around 15 to 20 miles I ran from home. Um, and it was snowy out. It was so snowy. I got to the point where I was lucky that I called someone up because they dropped me off at my grandparents, which is like actually just a few off the road. But it was so snowy that by the time I pulled off the shoes off my feet, that it was this whole raw section, like the skin itself peeled off with the shoe, and that sucked. I remember always just feeling so alone with that moment, and I think back to that a lot. Or moments where I've had friends deliberately just betray me, treat me like scum, talk behind my back, and leave me. That stuff hurts as well. I remember a time where another time in school actually, I had a dog and a family member let them outside, right? It wasn't even my, I just got this dog for Christmas, and they let them outside when I wasn't even awake, and they're like, "Oh, I lost your dog. Sorry." I remember I was very distraught. Apparently, the dog ran away. Well, I go to school. I'm broken. I told a few people, and didn't really seem to care. Well, I remember we're sitting on class, and there's this one guy. We'll call him Q, right? He's sitting in the corner, and he also apparently lost his dog, which I feel bad for. I really did. But everyone else is hoarding around him. They're like, "Oh, Q, you lost your dog. Oh, Q, you lost your dog. Oh, Q, you lost your dog." And here I am sitting in the opposite corner, in the back of the classroom, going through the same exact thing. And there's not a single person that came to me, even when there was a few people that knew about what I was going through. That was hard. Or even if we talk about, recently, I remember another thing that was very hard was the car crash I went through. Um, I remember having a hard time thinking about that because I remember, like, I could have died, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have cared, or even would have known. That was a hard thing to deal with. Or another example is when I used to do wrestling. I remember I would starve myself because I was kind of encouraged to by a lot of people, and I remember I got so sick and unhealthy that I was literally just vomiting bile at times, um, and nobody cared, and I actually got made fun of a little bit for even talking about it. At the same time, I don't forget those things, but it's not what defines me. If that's what I just kept harboring and defining me, I'll never be able to let go of anything. I'll never be able to move forward. You need to love yourself enough to realize that those things happened and that you're blessed enough to be strong enough to handle it. And if you're not, well, here you still are standing despite the odds. That's a beautiful thing. So many people don't even get that chance. So many people don't even understand what it means to overcome your suffering and bear it. Truly. Not just, take that suffering and be bitter afterwards. Anyone can do that. Anyone. But to take it and wear it like a suit of armor, I think that's beautiful. Because that is hard. That is true strength. And not everyone can do that. A lot of life is perspective. So often, when we have to look at the storm, that's what we notice. We only notice the clouds and whatnot. But it takes a lot for you to realize that there's going to be a time where those clouds won't always be. They won't always be there. And if they are, then there's always going to be a place where you can look around, and if you fight for it, you will find somewhere else where it might not be so rainy around that area. You got to find the sunrise that makes the trees look beautiful. That truly just encapsulates you in knowing that's who you are. So you can be at peace with yourself. I think peace really is a choice. I've met men that have lost so much, family members, money, everything, and yet they're some of the kindest people I've known in my entire life. I still question how to be that strong. I still question, what it really takes to overcome such adversity, especially when it feels like there's so much being thrown back at you constantly. The world being an unfair titan that it is. And yet, you look at all these people around the corner. Some people don't even have to try to be this. But to those that do have to suffer, that struggle constantly, I'm here to let you know that I care about you. That I know what that is like, bearing that. And I want you to know that everything you've taken, it's a badge of honor, and it's strong. And I'm so proud of you. Not just to say that. I mean, hopefully I know you, but I'm speaking through this grid of electrical microconductors. I know it's just a screen, but if I could stare through to you right now, okay, whether you're with yourself or with some other people, genuinely, God bless you. Because I know what it's like to go through everything that you have. And that I'm not sure will ever stop. But at the same time, I want you to be able to know what it's like to feel at peace with all that, to wear it and know that it's going to be okay. And that was something that can now not define you, but build you up into a better tomorrow. That's what it is. It is very easy to have this pain and suffering just spit in someone else and make sure that they know what it's like, or be bitter and just keep going. But I would hope that sitting, looking at your family, or looking at those that you want to encompass, that you want to be the reason that someone believes in kind hearts and pure souls. That's what I want for you. And I wish you the best in that journey. I wish you the best in opening up your heart more and defying the world, the grasp it wants around you. Because the world will, and I do believe this, will constantly try to keep you down. But I do not believe that we are of this world. I don't think anyone is. I think we are of spirit. And I think if you encapsulate that, if you build that up and let it flourish, no matter what this world throws at you, it will never, never be able to hold you down. No matter what suffering you have to endure, no matter what sicknesses envelop you, your heart, your mind, you'll be able to overcome it all. And I think there's a lot of beauty in that. I love you, my friend. I wish best for you. The one thing I will say, though, is clearly this title is clickbait. Because we don't have to be anything. It is a choice. Everything that we do is a choice. But those that do push through, that understand this, they understand why I say we have to be greater than what we endure. At some point, it's not just a choice. At some point, it's greater than us all. And when you make that decision, the same way that if you let your suffering consume you and you bleed on other people that don't deserve it, that grace and peace that you hold in yourself will also go on to others that also might not deserve it. But, wouldn't you rather be the person that gives others that solace and inspiration and wisdom and peace that hopefully everyone in your heart deserves, rather than the former? I'm sure I would. And that's the question and the mission I'm putting towards you today. Genuinely, sit around, look at yourself, know that you gotta love yourself, and that's gonna be okay, and it's gonna be hard. You're gonna have to do it every day, and you're gonna have times you're gonna fumble, but once you do understand what it takes to be at peace, to look at these things in the face and be like, that's okay. And honestly, and the hardest thing is be at peace with the fact that it might all happen again. And know what it's going to take to be that stronger person. To be greater than the obstacles that form around you. Well, that will be one of the happiest days in my mind for you. So, God bless you. Remember, guys, smile. Keep it up. As always, let's fight for a future so bright. It's too much for eyes. My name is Blow Digit signing out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.